What's up, big ballas? It's time for Bennett's Bets. Today, I'm going to give you guys the outline on how to bet Oregon football. So let's get a couple things just already solidified. Oregon is 2022 USC. Now, Ty, what do you mean by that? Oregon needs Dillon Gabriel to put on his superhero cape every single game in order for them to win football games. Caleb Williams, in 2022, he put on the cape. Both of their defenses are terrible. They're just terrible. They're all constantly out of position. They have highly recruited guys on the defensive side of the ball, but it doesn't matter. Their defenses are always out of position. Their DBs are constantly having to make tackles. And so as a DB, that could get pretty irritating when you're tackling quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers all the time because your D-line, your linebackers are constantly being caught out of position. With that being said, the outside players that Oregon and USC have are unreal. In 2022, USC had Jordan Addison, Jerry Rice's boy. They didn't have Zach Branch yet, but it's just a USC wide receiver room. They're just constantly full of studs. Taj Washington ended up being an NFL guy, drafted in like the last round. But this Oregon wide receiver room and skills room is probably better. I don't know if Tez will end up being the pro that Jordan Addison's already looking to be, but dude, Tez is just lightning in a bottle. You get that guy to ball out in space, he's going to be a problem. Evan Stewart is a crazy good deep threat. They got Tayshawn and Ferguson. Oh my God, that guy is going to be a stud in the NFL. He clears so much space through the middle of the field. He always finds the soft spot. And that plays into why Dillon Gabriel has been so successful. Dillon Gabriel is going to be in the Heisman discussion. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If that's a bet that I love, I think he is going to show up every game because they're going to need him to. Because if he doesn't show up against an Ohio State, against a Michigan, against a USC, or just teams that could score points, they're going to get their teeth kicked in. He's going to be a good player. His stats are going to be unreal this year. He's already showcased it with his passing attack and his two rushing touchdowns. But their biggest struggle is going to be stopping the run. They can't stop the run at all. The things to look for when you're betting them is quarterbacks who can run. If the quarterback of the other team can take off, he can drop back into the pocket, pretend to throw, and then take off, their linebackers are never in position, ever. That quarterback is going to tear them up. So I'm looking at Aiden Childs. Bet is over on rushing. I know he hasn't been his box score numbers aren't crazy when it comes to rushing. It's because they get minus yards for when they get sacked. If you watch the games, that guy is lightning in a bottle, and he's not afraid to take off. They got two running backs I like now. Carter came back, and they got the new kid. Michigan State is going to be a great value. So let's get into the most important part of the video. How the heck can we make money off the Oregon Ducks, right? The 2022 USC team, they ended up going to the conference championship. That is still on the table for Oregon. I'm not saying that they can't even go undefeated. I don't think that Will Howard can throw at the same level as Dillon Gabriel. I don't think he can keep up. I don't think he'll need to be quite honest with you. I don't think he'll need to. Kind of like what USC ran into with Utah. They can make a couple stops, and that's more than Oregon can say, or that's more than USC could say back then. That's going to be kind of the same case. Let's pound Michigan State. What we're rooting for, we need to root for next weekend. We need to root for Ohio State to beat the brakes off of Michigan State. That's what we need to pull for. So that way when we come into that next game, when it's Michigan State and Oregon, I want a fat line. I want the biggest line of credit you can give me. Let me load up on the Spartans there. Aiden Childs over on rushing yards. Carter over on rushing yards. I love them covering on that spot. Originally, when I came into the year, I had Oregon beating Ohio State because it was going to be a home game. We'll play it by ear. Will Howard, his rushing capability is kind of still to be seen, I'd say. I don't think he's a next level athlete like that. we'll get a better feel for it against Michigan State. So we'll kind of play that game. However that game ends up going, we're going to use for those Oregon games because they're the next two opponents, right? But we love Michigan State to cover. We like Ohio State to cover. It's going to depend on that line's going to depend on the Michigan State games for both teams. But I just don't see a world where Will Howard's not able to run all over them. And I think Chip Kelly's going to call a good running scheme against Oregon and take advantage of them. But bet the overs on Oregon the rest of the year. If you think that there's a team that can pound the rock and score with them, expect to see high scoring. We love Michigan State. We like Ohio State. We'll kind of play that one by ear. But those are our bets so far on Oregon. Shout out Oregon for being USC from 2022 and making the blueprint super easy for us to bet on them this year. Let's crush this year. Bennett bets off to a rocket fucking start.